90% of why we do this, so that you can meet people that you need to meet, talk with, and move forward that way. So we're real excited that you're here today. Of course, we couldn't do this without our sponsors. Want to thank them. They're all right over here. So at the end of the, we couldn't do it without them either, right? They are here for you afterwards to just mix and mingle, pick up their information. They brought articles pertaining to wellness and lots of different things that they're providing for you. And also get to know them so that you can ask them questions or schedule a meeting with them, a private meeting with them. We want you to just engage with our sponsors because they're here for you to help you add value to you in your life. Probably we're going to move to one of our special sponsors. This is Casey with Francis Tattle, and she's going to welcome you with Francis Tattle and let you know a little couple of things that are going on, how you can find out how to be involved.
Yes. So welcome to Francis Tattle. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Just a little low. We are so glad you are here today. If you have not been on our campus, we are extra thankful that you're here this morning. It is a beautiful campus, and I hope you enjoy being here. We are very blessed to have what we have here, and we are paid for by ad valorem taxes. Francis Tuttle actually has 4 locations. We're in Edmond, we're in off the Portland location, we have Rockwell, and then Reno. And I've been to this is my 4th location today, so I've been to all of them today. All of them have classes going, and that is what we do. We are here to educate the public, and we are super excited today that you guys are here to learn about health and wellness. And every time I come to one of these, I always think, oh, I'll work in the back. And then I get going with what the speakers are saying, and then I start taking notes myself. And so I'm really glad you guys are here. I think you're going to have a great program today. One thing I will tell you, if you continue to come, I promise you, next time you're here, I will have some cards for you guys. Francis Tuttle mostly tries to educate high school students and early college age that are going into the workforce. However, we do have a ton of open enrollment classes, and they are a lot of fun. We have sewing, and we have baking, we have a culinary department. In fact, there's a whole class going this entire week for Valentine's, and they're making cakes, and they're decorating cakes. And so there's a lot of great things happening, and I'll get that to you guys next time.
And how neat to be a part of a class that you can offer your expertise in. You've done it for years.
Yeah.
And those young people can just glean from you.
Yeah.
So another reason to take and be involved in the class is share your experience.
I tell you, I walked down there, and I'm like, the other day they were sewing, and they were making coats. And I was like, dang, I need to learn how to sew a coat. I was like, oh, I've missed the boat. So anyway, we have lots of great things to offer. So you can always go to francistuttle.edu on the website. There's a lot of great things you can see there. And we're just glad you're here, and we feel very blessed. Thanks.
Thank you. I'm going to hand that off to the I'm just going to thank you, Casey. Appreciate you. I just would like for you to introduce you to Emily. Emily, turn around and wave. Emily is my assistant. And if you could just share with her, if you're having problems with the signage, entry signage, the directional signs, if they're not helping you, we need to know that. We want to make sure that it's easy for you to get here and enter in this door, and or how things are going with your registration. Because we want to make sure that you are taken care of and that you are registered. So if you're having problems with that afterwards, during the mix and mingle, get with her if you're needing some or offer some suggestions with that. Now we're moving on to a very special time. We're going to spotlight our sponsors. It's sponsor spotlight time. And come on up, Linda Sargent with Directors Life.
Right behind you.
And she's going to share with you what Directors Life is, what it offers us, and if you have any questions, she's up here on the VIP table today for us, so she loves questions and loves to talk.
Yeah.
Linda and I have been friends since junior high. That tells you our age when it was called junior high and not
Middle school.
Yes.
Yeah. So we have been friends all this time, and who would have thought that we would still be together visiting with folks like you all? we're very endeared to our grandparents. And we spent a lot of times with our grandparents. And so what I do now, Connie was a drama teacher. I thought I might be a drama teacher, but instead I do something extremely interesting, and I like to say I put fun back into it. Guess what I do? I help folks find the fun in final expenses so that no one is ever forgotten, and that your children and you, your spouse and friends, have the opportunity to learn about your life. So think of me as your travel guide to finding the perfect funeral home to do business with. Now, is that not bizarre? And you can see, I didn't dress like a funeral director today, did I? No. I'm actually the president of a life insurance company that only funds prearranged funerals and cremations with independent funeral homes throughout our state. We are also in Arkansas, Kansas, and Texas. And each one has particular regulatory concerns. This is a very heavily regulated. So I can help you find the most affordable, but more importantly, guide you through making sure that your family has the necessary information to do all of the, I'll just say it, the vital statistics for a death certificate. And I'll tell you, it can be gut-wrenching when that information is not readily available to your family who is taking care of you when someone passes on. And so funerals in Oklahoma, the various range can be anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 difference. Well, Linda knows what the prices are. And a GPL, a general price list with a funeral home, is like reading a French menu in French. And I know how to read French. So that's kind of what I do. I work with folks over at Well Preserved. But when I'm in a group like this, if you need some assistance, I'll work with you individually, because you know Connie and I are buds. I'll work with you individually so that you find the most affordable plan, as well as matching you and your family with the right director, because they're going to take care of your family. So you can obtain what we call a guaranteed funeral service contract, and I want you to think of that like a forever stamp. Like a forever stamp. Who bought forever stamps? Right? You got a book of
It saves money.
Right. So you don't pay the difference, do you, to the U.S. Post Office? Stamps are now 70
When the price goes up.
when the price goes up. So whatever the price is today, you're going to be locking it in at the local independent family-owned firm. And then when the time comes, 50 years from now, because it's going to be definitely 50 years from me, because I'm going to continue to ride my horse. And so before I go riding off into the sunset, I'm going to have my funeral prearranged and pay today's price, use an insurance product to fund my funeral, and make it affordable. Does that make sense?
Yes.
To everybody? So I like the price.
And I just want to
She's
add,
gonna cut me off, I know she is.
I'm just going to add, I have a mic. Plus I don't need one, I know that's what you're going to say, Connie, you never needed a mic.
No.
But I just want to emphasize, my parents did this, and it's one of the greatest gifts you can give your children. All we had to do when my parents passed, and my grandparents, was go in and order flowers. Everything else was done. And it allows your children to share memories about you, to do that celebration.
story.
Tell the stories, and grieve.
Right. Think of it as a final directive. You have a health directive, right? Most folks have a health directive or a medical directive. You have a will and a trust. This is just another directive. And it can be done before the tears, and it can be done in a happy way.
Yes.
Because you can see I'm not sad. And we have a good time. All right, I'm done.
Thank you, appreciate you. Well, we are moving on to starting our panel today with wellness. It's time for wellness. Our first speaker, come on up, Chip. This is Chip Hall, and he is the owner of Neighborly Wellness. And he's going to tell us a little bit. He has I'm going to just hand this over to you. Do you need the podium? Or?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll just try to walk around.
I even went through this with Chip and Cindy, his lovely wife. Where's Cindy? Wave to us, Cindy. She is right on your side.
Absolutely,
helping you.
yep.
And they are completely natural. And I'm going to let them, they did a little scan on me, and they poured into my life. And because before I brought someone up here, I wanted to go through it.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot. I really did. So take it away, Chip.
All right, well, thank you, Connie, and thank you so much for having us today. So, again, my name is Chip Paul, and my wife and I have a clinic here in Edmond called Neighborly Wellness. It's on 33rd. But what we really try to do is help you guys find the root cause of disease, all right? And I think we'll all agree that God is a perfect engineer, right? And what I mean by that is if I take you all the way back to high school biology, we learned that every cell inside of us is always striving toward perfect function. Perfect function, always. If something happens to that cell, it just divides and forms a new cell, and that guy strives toward perfect function. So why do we all do this? Why do we all go the other way? Why do we all get sick? Why do we age? Why do we get diseases? Well, we help you understand that. And again, in God's world, there's no reason why all of us shouldn't be doing this. Again, it's not associated with age, let's say. So, I don't know about you guys, but when I was born, well, if I go to Home Depot and I buy a lawnmower, I get an owner's manual for that thing, right? It tells me what to put in it tells me when to change the oil, it tells me when things are going wrong, how to fix it. But no one ever gave me an owner's manual for this thing that I drive around every day, okay? So what we try to do at our clinic is help you get a status of your vehicle, okay? And we can do that in several different ways. So we have a thermal imaging system where we can basically take pictures of you, but the pictures are in temperature rather than pixels, right? And so we can get a real understanding of what's going on with you externally. So it's very easy for us to identify things like breast cancers. It's easy for us to get indications, let's say, of diabetes, of arthritis, all different kinds of things. And certainly if you have any kind of traumas or anything like that, very easy to identify those with the thermal imaging. Then we also have another tool called bioresonance. And it is a frequency machine that will get indications of pathogens. So bacterias, funguses, viruses, and parasites. And guess what? If you look at what's going on with this and why we're doing this and not this, there's a limited set of things, okay? So again, what in your life could be causing you to decline rather than advance? And so what are those things? Well, certainly environment could be one of those things. So you could have mold in your house, you could live over a lead mine, those things, you could work in a plutonium factory unprotected. So those things all have an impact on our health, but it's a small, let's say, sliver of the population. The other thing that impacts some of us are allergies, right? So all of us, have some kind of allergy, and we'll talk about that more in a second. But the main thing that impacts most of us is infection. So how many of you guys have had your doctor tell you, oh, you've got chronic inflammation, right? All of us, because we all have chronic inflammation. But what causes chronic inflammation? It takes something, right? And usually that something is some kind of bug. So we help you identify those bugs, and we help you get rid of those bugs. Anybody have horses, pigs, cows, sheep? What do we do every 6 months? We deworm those guys, don't we? Well, guess what? Those same bugs get in us. So one of the things that we also try to talk and educate you about is diet and your ability to control your own health, because you have such an ability to control your own health. But again, we need the owner's manual, don't we? Because without an owner's manual, we're left to this soup of chaos and confusion that we find on the internet, right? And so the two most important things that we put in our mouths every single day, if I just ask you guys cold, what are the two most important things that you eat every day? Would you be able to answer that question? No, you wouldn't. And I speak to PhDs and MDs and all kinds of professional people, and I love to ask that question. Doc, what are the two most important foods you eat every day? And watch the panic, because they don't know, all right? But what are the two most important foods? Omega-3 and omega-6 fats. What are those, and where do they come from? Come see us, we'll tell you. But so they really, dietary fats are king, and the reason that these are so important is they build your frontline immune system. Why does that matter? Well, that matters in your gut, that matters to all of your being. But let's go back here real quick and why dietary fats are important. So why omega-3 and omega-6 fats are important. Omega-3 fats are responsible for healing, okay, and deflammation. Omega-3 fats are in chia seeds, fish, walnuts, things like that. Omega-6 fats are in everything that we eat right now. Everything. Corn. Corn is a giant source of omega-6s. Omega-6s are responsible for inflammation and reactivity in our immune system. So what does this mean? If you eat equal amounts of omega-3, omega-6, and you have a dust allergy, then you could go into a dust storm and you might be minorly irritated, you might have some mucus and stuff going on, but it's not going to kill you, it's not going to hurt you. If you eat like most of us eat right now, a ton of omega-6s and no omega-3s, that sets an incredibly reactive and inflammatory state in our immune system. So a dust mite cause you, this incredible overreaction in your immune system, okay? And this is why this is so important, is if you balance omega-3 and omega-6 fats, we do what we're supposed to do. If we eat like we eat right now, we're gonna get stuck in chronic inflammation, inflammatory situations, overreactivity, and we pull resources that we need to defend ourselves in other instances. If we're reacting over here, how are you going to defend yourself against COVID over there, right? Okay, so the gut. We've all heard about the microbiome and the importance of the microbiome, right? Well, this is super important to your health. There's an obesity microbiome, okay? So someone who is obese, I can tell you almost exactly what's going on in their microbiome. Why? Because their microbiome is making them obese. So the microbiome is a reaction to things that we eat. When you eat red meat, you need help digesting that red meat. So you will develop certain bacteria that are associated with digesting red meat. If you eat broccoli, you'll need some help digesting that broccoli. So you will develop bacteria that are associated with breaking down plants and chlorophyll. So we build our biome by what we eat. We configure our biome by what we eat. Our biome is the main place that's making us sick right now. So guess what? You can get well by changing what you eat. Isn't that cool? So we help you understand this. We help you at a little deeper level. Like, let's say you came into our clinic and you said, Chip, I really want to lose weight. And I've tried all my life to lose weight. I've tried every diet, fad diet. I've tried fasting, I've tried everything. I just can't lose weight. Well, again, I know exactly what's going on with that person, but it's a program. It's not a here, take this pill, you'll get better, see you later, bye. It's a whole program. I've got to re-educate you about how you work. I've got to educate you about food. I've got to educate you about your behavior and kind of what you're doing to help yourself and what you're doing to hurt yourself. But anyway, we have a whole program of things that we lay out for you to be able to follow in order for you to kind of help yourself. But one of the biggest things that we talk about is intermittent fasting, okay? So intermittent fasting is the most important tool that anybody has in order to improve health. When we, just real quick, when we eat, we go into low gear. And you go into low gear for 5 hours. In low gear, you have no way to fight cancer. In low gear, you make cholesterol. So if you have high cholesterol, you don't want to be in low gear very long. In low gear, you have a weakened immune system. In low gear, you have lots of stuff that basically is not as optimal as in high gear. So we try to coach and counsel you that eating is consequential. We all have to eat, we have to nutrient ourselves, but eating is consequential. And so when we eat, that needs to be a thoughtful and very conscious thing. And again, if we can minimize not the amount we're eating, but the frequency that we're eating stuff in, that's really beneficial to our health, okay? All right, so I probably can't hit all these bullet points. All right, so 5 simple things that you can do to help yourself. Intermittent fasting is super important. It's the most important health tip I could ever give you. What does it mean? Skip breakfast, start eating at noon, stop eating by 8 o'clock. Pretty easy. Eat as much as you want between noon and 8. It's not about denial. It's just about eating in a defined window. Incorporating omega-3s into your diet. Why? Again, we don't want to react to a dust mite. We want to be able to go through the dust storm, eat more omega-3s. Again, where do you find omega-3s? Fish, walnuts, but mainly chia seeds is the biggest source of omega-3s. It's all nuts have a fat profile, and so there's very few things that are mainly omega-3, but chia seeds is one of them. Everybody right now needs to be taking a B complex vitamin. That is so important. You can't defend yourself against these bugs, against these pathogens without B vitamins, okay? So, and none of us are really getting what we need from the diet anymore, unless you eat a lot of eggs. If you eat a lot of eggs, maybe, but most of us aren't getting what we need in the diet anymore. Reduce processed foods. So again, if we can cut back on the sugar, and basically the dead food, I like to call it the food that's never ever been alive. So if we can cut back on that, then that really helps. And then the last thing, come see us. Come see us at our clinic. Again, in the future, it won't cost you to come see us at our clinic. So insurance doesn't really cover what we do right now, but it's going to in the future, and everything is trending toward this. So if you're listening to what RFK Jr. is saying and things like that, this is the direction that health is going, and health is going to change dramatically over the next 5 years. So you're going to be hearing a lot more people like me talk about these principles than you're hearing, let's say, right now. All right, so our bodies are designed for balance, and again, we help you try to understand what that balance looks like and how to optimize that balance. So, and we'll take questions on this, right?
Yes, we're going to do questions. If you have both the questions that we're going to cover, and then you also have a little pad there. Please jot down your questions, because when we move into Q&A after everybody speaks, we're going to, if they don't answer your questions, then we'll have a Q&A time. Okay, so after that, then we'll answer questions. So I'll do that for a couple of questions.
Okay.
Did you need to finish?
Well, there we go.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Thank you. As you can see, we're just wanting to offer, it's always always important, I'm gonna say this before everybody that speaks, it's so important that you do your due diligence and research regarding this. I just wanted to bring this to you and to add value to your life or something to think about if it's good for you. If it's something you want to talk with Chip more about, then you're welcome to, at the end, share your information. We don't share your information unless you tell us to. So, anyway, we're going to move on to our next guest, which is Mark Cope with, come on up, Mark. Mark Cope with, I'm sorry, Nerve Renewal. Nerve Renewal. I don't think that's on. Turn it on. And he has we're just gonna give her a little minute to get the video up and running. He brought a video for you to watch that you did on which channel?
Channel 9.
Channel 9. They came and interviewed and held him there, so.
Neuropathy is a painful condition affecting tens of thousands.
We're gonna go with it. You wanna start with that?
Yeah, I'll introduce myself a
Yes,
little
please,
bit and then
please do.
we'll give some more time to get that video working. Okay, all right. So my name is Mark Cope. I am the outreach director for Nerve Renewal Neuropathy Clinics. And my job, my function at Nerve Renewal is to educate the community about what we do, but I also lead a team of educators that go around the state and do what's called a lunch and learn with doctors and nurses, and we're trying to educate the medical community about what we do. So anyway, I'd like to start off with this video. This was a piece that Channel 9 did on us last year, last summer, I believe, and it just provides a good overview of what our treatment looks like, what it looks like to come to Nerve Renewal and get treatment for peripheral neuropathy. So, hi, Stephen.
You get to sit next to me sometimes.
Yeah.
Neuropathy is a painful condition affecting tens of thousands of Oklahomans, and sadly, many don't know there is a treatment that offers relief. Today, learn about Nerve Renewal and its mission to help senior Oklahomans. Talk to me a little bit about neuropathy and how it impacts someone's life.
So when patients come in with neuropathy, the first thing they complain of is, I can't feel my feet. I can't walk in the stores like I used to. I used to be able to go with my grandkids, and I can't do that anymore because my feet hurt so bad.
My doctor already told me that I'd had neuropathy, so when I play golf, like the shoes I have on, I couldn't wear them with just a few holes and my feet would just be burning. I'd stomp my foot like that trying to make it quit, anything. That's when I went to the doctor and said, hey, what's going on? Why are my feet burning like this? And he said, well, you got the beginning of neuropathy. He said, it's followed by numbness and, you might even lose your balance because of not being able to feel your feet real well.
So when they come in their initial visit, we do a balance test, and then throughout their treatments, which is 24 treatments, we do 2 other balance tests, and we've had a lot of improvement from the time that they started to the end of their treatment.
For first-time patients, we have some paperwork that they need to fill out as first-time patients. A lot of patients come by themselves, so we do offerings to go over anything they need.
Why is it so important to make them feel comfortable the first time they come in?
It's important to us because we'll see them twice a week, so we like for them to get comfortable with us, kind of build a relationship with them just because they're in here so often.
Once someone is checked in, then they meet up with you. What happens next?
So once a patient is approved for our treatment, we take them back here in the back. They do a 12-week program, 24 treatments total. We come in and whether we're doing bilateral lower extremities or upper extremities, we set them up with their feet or their upper arms.
Can you show us a little bit about what somebody can expect?
Yeah. So patients that are doing bilateral lower extremities, we're trying to target any of those nerves that are damaged from the hips down to their toes. By doing that, we have these suction cups that we set up on their lower extremities. You do 2 treatments while you're here. It's the first treatment, we usually just try to cover the neuropathy side, or second where we try to cover whatever your chief complaint is on a daily basis.
For you personally, seeing that must give you a lot of personal satisfaction.
It does. You have patients come in and say, thank you so much. They're so appreciative. And they said, oh, I can just walk so much better now, or my balance is better now. You always have praise reports.
It was about 10 years ago, I got cancer. And
so after all the chemo, is when they diagnosed me with neuropathy. And so I've had it almost 10 years. And to me, it was just getting worse and worse. It was burning, it was numbness.
So how has nerve renewal helped you?
I can actually walk with my grandkids, I can go to their school functions and walk around all day, and it doesn't bother me. I always tell patients when they come in, if you're skeptical about the treatment, come and sit in the lobby and talk to the patients that come. And they will tell you the true story of what nerve renewal is doing for them.
It's just really convenient for me to go in and I can do it a morning session, be out there and hit the golf course by noon.
Take the chance. Take the chance to get better, because this works.
All right. So what is neuropathy? At its root level, neuro means nerve, pathy is disorder. So neuropathy means nerve disorder or nerve damage. How do we get neuropathy? Well, that's a complicated question because there's a lot of different ways that we can get neuropathy. At Nerve Renewal, most of what we're treating is neuropathy related to diabetes, chemo treatments, either chemical or radiological can cause neuropathy, and then surgery can cause neuropathy. Anytime you cut into somebody, you can cut through some nerves and end up with neuropathy in post. So those are some different ways. There are some others. If you do some research, unfortunately, there's probably 50 different ways to get neuropathy. So what we're treating, of course, is the pain and discomfort related to that. And it's interesting, about 2 weeks ago, I sat down and actually had the treatment done on myself. I go around, I've been talking about this for 2 years, and I get the question of like, well, what does it feel like? And, well, I don't really know. So I went on a mission to solve that, and the treatment, no pain involved. It feels exactly like when you are laying on your arm for too long, and you get that, and then you get that kind of prickly feeling as your circulation's coming back. That's exactly what our treatment feels like. So, so our treatment is bimodal. It's drug-free.
That was just licking a 9-volt battery, but it's
No, that's, yeah, not quite as shocking as that, but, so our treatment is comprised of two different things, what's called neuromodulation, which, as you saw in the video, the machine that you sit down and we hook up to you modulates your nerve cells, which really stimulates through electricity the nerve cell. And then the other part of our treatment is a nutrient injection that provides nutrients that your cells need to function better. And without getting on your nerves too much, I'll explain the science. So a nerve cell is typically either it's firing or it's sitting latent, it's resting. And in neuropathy, a lot of times what we see is those nerve cells are just constantly firing. They're firing. And within the nerve cell itself, the only time that the nerve cell can get nourishment from our bloodstream is in that latent state, in that latent mode, when it's resting. There's gated channels that open up in that nerve cell that allow nutrients from our bloodstream in. So what the neuromodulation machine is designed to do is to what's called depolarize the nerve cell. It shuts that signal off that's constantly firing. And that's why the other part of our treatment involves the nutrients that those nerves need in order to function better. So we're shutting the nerve signal off, which for people that experience a lot of pain with their neuropathy provides, a lot of therapeutic relief just while you're under treatment. because some of those patients, unfortunately, the pain is chronic and they feel it all of the time. Disrupts sleep and disrupts many functions of life. So you have that immediate relief from the machine, but then the lasting relief comes from the series of 24 treatments that help to provide the nourishment that our nerve cells need and help them function better. So a little bit more about Nerve Renewal. We have 6 locations in the metro area. We have one here in Edmond. We have one in Northwest Oklahoma City, Southwest Oklahoma City. We have one in Yukon now, which just opened a couple months ago, Norman, and Midwest City. Outside of the metro, we have one in Shawnee, one in Broken Arrow. We just opened a South Tulsa location, Bartlesville, Stillwater. Enid will open this summer, and we have a few more planned for the south part of the state. The ownership of Nerve Renewal is all Oklahoma based. We started this here in Oklahoma, and we started with one clinic, our Northwest clinic, about 3 years ago. And by the end of this year, we'll have about 14 clinics around the state, because this treatment really works, and unfortunately it's badly needed in Oklahoma. Most of what we're treating is diabetic neuropathy.
So you're helping people, that is so wonderful.
Well, yes, yeah.
They're seeing light at the end of the tunnel, in other words, that's really important.
It is, because, and one of the reasons we go around and try and educate the medical community is they only have a couple drugs in their tool belt to treat peripheral neuropathy. Gabapentin, there's Lyrica, there's 1 or 2 others. And a lot of times, while those drugs can be effective in treating the symptoms, they're not curative, and some of the side effects of those drugs are not great. One of the most predominant is dizziness, and in neuropathy, especially in your feet, we're dealing with balance issues anyway. And so we don't want to add that extra dizziness on top of that. So our treatment being drug-free is actually it's very exciting to the medical community when we go out and tell them that there is now an option that doesn't add another layer of medicine to your patients and is covered by Medicare, Medicaid, most private insurance, and the VA even either covers all or part of this treatment. So that's very exciting. Yeah, so that's kind of a general overview of what we're doing, and I'm happy to take any questions afterwards. And so, yeah, thank you.
Great, thank you. Wonderful job, wonderful job. And that's what matters to me and just strikes me. When someone says, we have grown because of testimonial success, that's the best thing that they can ask for is testimonials, right? That said, the gentleman that said, I can go do my therapy and then go hit the golf course so he can continue with living his life, right? I just love that. I think that's just wonderful. Our next speaker is Jeff with Arch Wellness. And Arch Well is all about, you'll see that the well is also capitalized. They're all about providing you with wellness, and they want to care for you and take care of you. Jeff brings a vast experience all across the medical field, right? All the different positions, and he is supporting Archwell 110%, which speaks volumes for it. 210%. Awesome, awesome.
I was going to actually introduce Stephen. I don't know where he went.
I think he took a call.
He's we call him our selfie king, so you will see a selfie with him.
So when he comes in, just bring you down.
All right. Well, again, my name is Jeff Haynes, and I'm with Archwell Health. Oh, yeah. use it, but we'll figure it out. All right, so anyway, I'm a senior advocate. That's kind of a self-proclaimed. I've been doing, working with seniors, and none of you are probably old enough to be a senior yet, but I've been working in the senior industry for about 16 years in several capacities, from home care to hospital to medical staffing, and of course with Archwell Health. And people ask me all the time, why do you do it? Because somebody needs to be an advocate. I look around the room and I see a ton of advocates, your sponsors, they're here. I want to make sure that every person that I come in contact with, that they know it's a safe place for me to help you find resources that are going to benefit you. So that's kind of how I am. I've always been that way, and I'll never ever be in an industry that doesn't support seniors and those with special needs. So I'm also a disc jockey by trade. I'm not going to go through that one very often, but I love to go and do senior events. I love Spanish Cove, my partner over here somewhere. Okay, I can't see. I got to celebrate with them on New Year's Eve, bringing in a special night. So, what is Archwell? People ask me, and first of all, we're not affiliated with Prince Harry. Okay, I guess he has some kind of Archie Foundation or something. That is not us. Like Mark mentioned, we actually started 3 years ago, and in that time, we are now in 14 states. We are opening 16 brand new locations this month. We close out this month in Little Rock. We've got 3 locations going. In Oklahoma City, we have 3 locations, one on 23rd and North Meridian. We have one south side on I-240 in Southwestern and Midwest City. We're at 15th and Air Depot. And unfortunately, in our time, we move a lot. So I started in Midwest City, now I'm at Windsor. Before that, I was at Southwestern. In Tulsa, we have 2 locations as well. So we're really excited to see. The thing I love about Archwell, and you're going to hear me say that a lot because there's a lot of stuff I love. Archwell focuses on kind of almost what Chip was mentioning. We're looking for active to keep you healthy and active. And I'm going to give a side note to Cindy and Chip. I listen, believe it or not, a lot. So in the last month, I've lost 15 pounds by listening to what they say. So these are things that I need to do to get myself healthy and active as well. I had some struggles going through life. Well, with Archwell, I learned a lot. With my colleagues, I've learned a lot. So what is Archwell? I've got a little PowerPoint, and unfortunately, I didn't bring my glasses, so I get to go like this a lot. But Archwell, basically, we are completely patient care. I see this a lot. My parents basically were put on Archwell services back 2.5 years ago. My stepmom was literally in the hospital. We had to call a state attorney in to basically say goodbye. Archwell got involved, and literally today she's living her best life and really healthy and active. My father was also on services, but unfortunately he passed, but they helped him with that final process. So patient care, more one-on-one time with doctors. And I'm going to say this, I went to a new doctor, some of you have heard this before, about 60 days to 90 days ago. Went in for that health and wellness check we're supposed to do every year. Literally, he came in for 4 minutes. 4 minutes I saw the doctor. I left mad. Now again, I'm not senior eligible, so I don't get all that wonderful Medicare insurance that you guys have. I know, right? I know, it's a laughable moment, but then I got really excited because you're never going to see that with Archwell. Our patients, or we call family members, see our doctors for 40 minutes to an hour every appointment. Now, I stress that because I'm going to tell you, there was so much I needed to tell my doctor the day I came in, and he didn't listen. And literally, I left $163 later after doing lab work. All of our labs are done in-house, on-site. We have a portable EKG as well as an ultrasound in the clinic. All that's covered under your insurance. So, transportation. Now, most of you probably got here yourself, but there's a lot of cases where folks just are not able to drive anymore. We provide transportation to and from. This past year, and I know Patrick works with Well Preserved, but he doesn't really do the Medicare piece as much, but he hears enough, right? Humana, United Healthcare lost their transportation benefit for this year, unless you're on a chronic or a disability plan. So with Archwell, we don't care. We're going to take care of you. We're going to make sure we provide the transportation to and from our clinics, as well as your special appointments if you have to go to a cardiologist or podiatrist. And then we do community events in our rooms. If you've ever been to an Archwell, you'll see we keep it very active and lively. We have a coffee bar with snacks and other drinks as well. But we have activities in all of our centers that we try to do on a daily basis. Now we know sometimes things change, weather. Tomorrow we know. Listen, I'm telling you, the weathermen in Oklahoma are paid by the grocery stores. I firmly believe that, because tomorrow it'll probably be 80 degrees.
I was just thankful for today and that we're here, we can have it. I was so thankful.
Yeah, I am as well. So ladies and gentlemen, at this time, since he stepped back in, I want to introduce
Come on down, Stephen.
my buddy and our cohort, our CRS, the Celtic King, Mr. Steven Zabrowski. So what we do, and this is how we work with each other so well. So Stephen is really what I call our brand ambassador. He's out there making events happen for our membership consultants to come in and work the events and educate you guys. He's a great tool, a great resource. I mean, he literally is involved with every chamber in the metropolitan area. He's involved with a lot of our brokers. He's involved with everything. So there's more things I don't know that he does than he does. So that tells you a lot. Steve, would you like to say a few words?
I'm just glad to be here. These seminars are extraordinarily important because education never stops. It never, ever stops. And so I've heard a doctor one time say, we don't stop walking because we get old because we stop walking. But I think the brain is the same way. You don't stop learning because you get old. You get old because you stop learning rather. And so this is extraordinarily great, and I'm glad Archwell could be a partner. Connie's one of my favorite people.
Thank you, yes.
But also, like the folks who are here, these are great people who are dedicated to making sure seniors live a healthier life or a more satisfying life. I feel that we do that super well at Archwell Health as well. So I'm glad to be in this fine company. Hey, Richard. He's my favorite
You can
Santa.
tell it's February, you say.
Yeah, I know. I was surprised. I didn't realize who it was. Anyway, so like Jeff was saying, we try to get into the community as well as bring the community into us. So for instance, tomorrow we'll be at the Bethany YMCA doing a potluck dinner or potluck lunch with anybody who wants to come, but then we'll be doing musical bingo for fun. And so it's just stuff that we can do to give back. And Jeff is, like, not to pat ourselves on the back, but Jeff is super good at it too. So.
I try. All right, and as I mentioned earlier, best-in-class clinical model. The one thing I do want to focus, again, Pete and I actually had a few ask me this before. We only take folks that are 60 and above, and typically between 60 and 65, they're usually on a disability or some kind of C-STIP type plan. But most of our folks are going to be 65 and above. Why is that important? The one thing that I think about is the 70-year-old body is a whole lot different than a 20-year-old body, right? A lot of changes. So our doctors are really focused on specifically looking at things for the aging process. As you'll see here, we provide a red carpet experience. I kind of mentioned that before.
And I love that title. You deserve red carpet treatment.
Yeah.
Each one of you deserves red carpet treatment.
So I kind of mentioned this before as well. So there's really three types of doctors' clinics. And the third type really just came on in the last year. It's called the concierge. A lot of doctors are getting away from insurances, and they're having you pay a membership fee of $2,000 plus a year to see them as many times as you want. So I barely talk about that because it's such a small number. But the main two that you'll hear is the fee for service. We kind of mentioned that earlier. When I went to my doctor, it's fee for service. The reason he rushed me out of there in 4 minutes is he had 35 more patients he had to see, and that was at like 11 o'clock, right? So, and then the last one is value-based care, and that's what we are. We're a care model that is specific to spending time. I'm going to tell you, my parents are two of the worst when it comes to health care. My dad, for years until he went to Archwell, if he had something wrong, you know where he went? His veterinarian. And I kid you not, and he would get the medicines. He's like, it's a safe thing to get over. You know, we're rednecks. We were from Jones, Oklahoma, a little bitty small town, and grew up on a farm. So some of the things that he actually learned from his dad, we worked with certain intimate oils that you put on your bodies that we put on the cows. Anyway, Archwell really opened his eyes to spending that quality of life. I saw a new renewed spirit that I've never done. That is why I came to Archwell 1 year ago last week to work. Because I saw that what happened as a power of attorney for a parent who literally hated health care, and to see how it turned him around. I'm like, you know what? I need to be more a part of this. So, all right, the next thing is we collaborate. Now, I'm going to tell you, my stepmom, again, she's a very stubborn lady. She's very fit, but she's diabetic. She's got an Indian heritage in her, and unfortunately, Indian heritage has a higher, they're more prone to diabetes than most other cultures, and I think most of us know that, or we've heard that. And so she really was she does not like a doctor telling her what to do. Guess what? When you come to Archwell, you're also the doctor. You know your body better than we do, and our doctors listen to what you have to say, and they're going to communicate with you and not tell you, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. The other thing that she never liked, that it really opened my eyes to, is she didn't want somebody just pushing a lot of pills down her throat. Well, at Archwell, we listen to what is best for you. We're going to give you guidance, but you know, inevitably, when it's all said and done, you're the one that makes those decisions. We'll offer suggestions. How many doctors do that anymore? They're like, okay, you need to take this, 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 and this. We'll see you back in 6 months. Archwell, you can come every day of the week for a year if you want. Your insurance covers that. And we'll go through insurances in just a second. So every one of our clinics are designed a certain way to where you come in, you see a very inviting experience, but we have an activities room that is available all the time. They're doing everything from arts and crafts to diabetes, informational seminars to Singo Bingo. We've got a gentleman at our Southwest clinic, comes in every day, 5 days a week, and all he wants to do is put puzzles together. So he comes in and he literally sits there 6 to 8 hours putting a puzzle together. We embrace that because you know what? We're his family, and he loves spending time with his family in Archwell. We invest in our community, and as I mentioned before, we love partnering with folks like Time for Living series. This is so important to us because we're all about education. We have a full-time social worker that goes out and speaks for us at different communities on different topics, from living your best life to loneliness to et cetera, et cetera. She will be there to support us. Our doctors, Patrick will tell you, one of their favorite people on the KTOK radio show that's on every Saturday is Dr. Benita. When she comes and she goes on their show, their calls just go through the roof. People are wanting to hear more. Dr. Benita is now our medical director for all of Oklahoma, and such a plethora of knowledge, but all of our doctors make themselves available to do that as well. I mentioned before, so because we are a value-based care program, With Archwell, we look at things different than most folks. So when you come, you're going to start with your experience with me. I'm sorry, that's kind of how it works. And I'm going to help guide you do all that nasty paperwork that you have to do every time you go to the first clinic appointment. But I'm going to start that process, and then our folks in the clinic are going to take over, and every single one of them are going to be there for you. We have care coordinators. How many of you, without a show of hands, get frustrated when you have to call your specialist and try to figure out when can I get in? Oh, it's going to be 6 months from now. We have care coordinators in our clinics that do all that work for you. We help arrange every aspect of care that you can imagine. And if it doesn't work that way, we just tell you to call Stephen, and Stephen will figure something out. Stephen is our go-to for everything.
Not only will I figure it out, you will never know if it's not the right answer. I'm basically a politician and a stand-up comedian all rolled into one. It's great.
So on our, and to close it out, and I know we're going to go into question and answer time, so people ask us all the time, and I never ever want to leave you without this. So the insurances that Archwell does take right now, we're always looking to get other insurances to be a part, but it's a long vetting process. United Healthcare Advantage is the first one. I'd say 75% of our members are on United Healthcare Advantage plan. Humana Advantage, Cigna Advantage, and as of January 1st, we're now taking Aetna. Now, Cigna and Aetna are very, very, very small. They don't offer very many plans, whereas United Healthcare, we might have 50 plans just in the Oklahoma City market that we're able to support, same with Humana. So those are our insurances, and again, we're going to be around to answer questions, but we're also going to be here to talk to you one-on-one. If you ever want me to come by, visit with you one-on-one to go more in detail. If you don't have an insurance broker and you want to look at that, we would partner with certain folks to come out and visit with you to help you understand what your insurances are. Right now, and I'm going to say a shameless plug for our brokers, you have until March 31st. If you are on a Advantage plan, you can change one time. So let's say during open enrollment, you got on a plan, you really thought it was going to be good, and it's just not good at all. Your drugs have changed, you're on a different tier. This is the time the government gives us to let you look at another plan. So those are things we will help you with, and we have great partners like I said earlier with Will Preserve that can come out and help us with that as well. So again, I'm Jeff, that's Stephen, we're with Archwell, and we're not Beavis and Butthead, we're just Zing and Zang, okay? All right.
Awesome. Okay, guys, one thing I wanted to reiterate also about, he kind of touched on it, it's important to me that you enter a safe environment. You know, we had in December, we had the scam speaker come. There's so much out there, and that they invite you to come to, they've vetted the speakers, they've come, they're in one place that you feel safe walking into. So I think that's very important. Guys, if you can come on down, and we need one more chair. So one of you bring your chair. We're just going to do this conversational style, and we have 2 mics for them to share. Pull that other one out. This is for the panel. Yeah. Just find a seat there. I'm going to let you sit right there, Jim.
Oh, I got you.
Here's some mics. Okay, we're going to, also, I just want to draw your attention to what was set before you. There was our questions that we're going to go over quickly here before we open it up to you. And then there is our schedule for Edmond. If you have loved ones or friends or somebody that would be interested in attending our Norman, we don't run that through a Time for Living, but it is a part of our Time for Living program that we work with the Adult Wellness Center in Norman. So if they want to come to the Norman one, we basically mirror our seminars for them, but we do have different speakers. Sometimes we have different speakers, like there'll be, for the independent living places, we're gonna get from that area, of course, because they promote it, we don't promote it. We promote our sponsors when we're here, but they have just asked us to come in and hold that educational seminar. So that's what's there for you. And then we have, yes, the date and times are on there. It is a different time. In Norman, it starts at 1 o'clock. Starts at 1 o'clock. Thank you, Emily. That's why I have Emily. It starts at 1 o'clock. Ours start at 10. So here in Edmond. So there is a different time, but the address is on there. If you want anything from Norman, get with Emily. She has those back in the back for you. Also, the eval. It's very important to us that you share with us your feelings about the seminar, how you heard about us, and if you want to enroll in the next one, you just do it right there and we'll get in contact with you. We'll make sure that we reach out to you. All right, so we're going to move into some questions that we talked about with each other, and with our expert panel that is here. We're going to just start with one. I'm just going to make that disclaimer again. Always do your research and have conversations with your family. Go and interview these people, whether you would like to be participating in. The first question we're going to talk about is, what are the best low-impact exercises or activities for maintaining strength and balance and flexibility when we age? And I'm going to start with Mark, of course, because they work with that all the time.
All right, can you hear me? All right. So there is walking, obviously, and swimming is good, low impact. You have exercises like Tai Chi and yoga. There are also a wealth of exercises that involve just using a chair.
Absolutely, and I think it's good to think of the healthy living centers that we've developed with our MAPS program, etc. Those are a minimal cost, if not paid for, with silver sneakers and things like that. Yes.
And we actually do the chair yoga and Tai Chi at our clinics every single week at all three. So those are things that we certainly look for. And going back to what I said before, our social worker really helps find different resources to come in and we work with YMCs a lot. So they'll come in and help us with different chair exercises as well.
Great, awesome. Okay, how does nutrition, and we've heard a lot about this already, right? So it shouldn't take us long to talk about it. But how does nutrition change after 55, and what key nutrients or dietary habits should seniors prioritize for overall wellness? Jeff?
Yeah, so I guess this was me. So definitely what we know, let's say, about nutrition, and this isn't really age related, so it doesn't really change after 55.
We probably should start sooner rather than later, right?
Absolutely. So it doesn't really matter what age you start at. Again, God is a perfect engineer. Every cell inside of you, doesn't matter how old you are, is always striving toward perfect. How do we get those cells to strive toward perfect? Well, we have to get rid of the insults first, but then nutrition past that. Okay, so nutrition plays a tremendously important role in this vehicle, okay? And it should be a major part of the owner's manual of this vehicle, way more than we think right now. And this doesn't mean I'm going to take away all your cookies and ice cream, right? It just means that we need to pay more attention to what we put in our mouths because we're configuring this thing with every single meal. Okay.
So I don't have to feel guilty because I supported the Girl Scouts?
But no.
Oh, good.
Yeah, but, you know,
I love the Fem Jams, by the way.
Just eat them all before 6.
I'm sure you guys incorporate nutrition.
Yeah, we actually have nutritional seminars at our clinic as well as at our community events with some of our partners, where we'll actually have, like I said, our social worker will come in and she'll have different dietary, different nutritional programs. We work with nutritionists who will support our clinics, so we love that partnership.
Okay, Mark, let's move into the next question. What are some simple strategies for staying physically active for those who have limited mobility? Okay, they're already suffering with some of the effects
Right.
of what's going on with their muscles and with their body and chronic conditions. Like
So
restless, I'm just going to say something my aunt had, restless leg syndrome.
So I think we're back to those low impact exercises. When we're dealing with low, mobility issues, then sometimes that's because of balance and things like that. So swimming is great because you're in a very, you're in a protected environment. Hard to fall over in the swimming pool if you're in there. And so with some of the other exercises with limited mobility and balance issues, you want to make sure that you have something to hold on to sometimes, or something to
Yes.
grab in case of
Grab
some
on.
dizziness or a fall. So we're back to swimming, tai chi, yoga, those kind of things when we have limited mobility.
And I've always heard stretching.
It's great.
How important is stretching, even getting the oxygen, right, into our, so a stretching program is always.
I had a car wreck a month ago, and so I'm in physical therapy right now, so I'm probably the expert on this one. Stretching, it hurts when you've been hurt. But anyway, they're telling me impact of your arms, going back and forth, and not high impact. Same with your legs, your body will help. They give you all kinds of exercises. One of the things I used to tell my mother-in-law before she passed several years ago is she was in a wheelchair. I told her, no, we're not going to do this. You're going to use your arms. You're going to use your legs because it will help us when we're trying to transfer. And that is the worst thing. People think, well, I'm in a wheelchair now. I'm going to let everybody do anything for me. We say absolutely not. And in Archwell, we actually have programs that go over that for the vulnerable.
Wonderful, excellent. All right, so we're going to move on into mental and emotional wellness. That all wraps up in our wellness, right? So what are effective ways to reduce the stress, anxiety, and feelings of loneliness? And when we were talking earlier, my biggest thing is that I do feel stressed, or I am feeling lonely. It exists, right? If I'm hurting. So talk to us a little bit about that, about effective ways to reduce the stress, and maybe the first thing is to acknowledge, right, that they're feeling that way.
So we deal, with peripheral neuropathy. A lot of times it can cause a lot of stress and pain and discomfort in people's lives, and that can kind of have a snowballing effect of quality of life. So, pain management, doing anything you can to feel better, really, so that you stay mobile and you stay social. All of those things impact our mental health and help us deal with anxiety and depression.
And believe it or not, anxiety and depression, let's say our ability to deal with anxiety and depression and the severity of anxiety and depression have a lot to do with our gut biome, okay? Depression and anxiety are formed, and happiness and good feelings also are formed really through chemicals called dopamine and serotonin. And again, if your gut biome is messed up, if you've got the wrong kind of configuration, let's say in the gut biome, it will alter your ability to make dopamine and serotonin and will interfere with your ability to create or mitigate mood. What do I mean by this? We should operate in a tight little band, right? So, if something happens, we're going to get sad, but it shouldn't wreck our day. Most of us operate like this right now because we don't understand these things. And so again, can this be fixed with diet? Yes. Can it be fixed with supplements? Yes, absolutely.
The other thing, while I'm in physical therapy, she actually said something, and of course, I always think of the Karate Kid. How many saw the movie Karate Kid, right? What was Mr. Miyagi's favorite thing to say? Well, that too. Breathe, very important, must breathe. And so when I was at physical therapy, they actually talked about it, and I really thought about this with this. A lot of times whenever I'm really anxious or just overwhelmed, and unfortunately in healthcare, most people work in healthcare will tell you it's pretty easy to get overwhelmed at times, is just to sit in a room, close your eyes, just breathe in. Count to 5, breathe out, count to 5. And it makes such a difference, and you'd be surprised how quick your emotions change just on that. And I think I actually heard one of your panelists talk about that in the last couple of times.
Take a deep breath. Okay, we're going to move on to what are some preventative healthcare tips for aging well, and how often should seniors schedule checkups and/or screenings. And I kind of brought into that preventative. I felt like I took collagen too late, because I did not realize that, your body starts, we just, as we age, we need to put some of the things back in our bodies, that they're still there, but what was the Chip that you said?
Yeah, so collagen is a thing that we all have heard of, especially if you're a woman, right? So you've heard of collagen. Collagen is kind of what goes into our skin and helps our skin look good, okay? So you can supplement, you can actually take collagen as a thing, and that will actually help your skin. But the deeper thing is way more important. So let me sort of map this out for you. So collagen is a protein. All right, and so we hear protein, a lot of people say protein. Well, what is a protein? Well, protein is just a string of amino acids, okay? There are 9 essential amino acids that we all have to eat every day. If you don't eat those 9 every single day, and collagen contains one you're missing, you won't make collagen, okay? So this is just a deeper understanding of kind of how our bodies work, that if we're eating all 9 essential amino acids, we shouldn't have a collagen problem. Our bodies should make collagen, and we should be restoring collagen. But it just goes back to the importance of a couple of things. You have so much more control over your health than you think you do, okay? But you have to take ownership of it, and you have to begin to understand and learn about yourself and learn about nature and kind of how that impacts everything. So that's hopefully what we do. But you just have a lot of more control than you think over your health with the inputs, with the things that we put in our mouth every day, which is kind of cool to me, and that's very empowering, if I understand and really help myself and myself. Right?
And Connie, to answer your question as well, Archwell, we really promote coming to the clinic often. So we want to see our members, our patients, at least once a quarter. We have some folks that have to come more often, but the reason you want to get into your doctor before you have a problem is to prevent having a problem and going back and fixing it. So our doctors are very much advocates of seeing the patients more and more. And I didn't mention this before, the one thing that I didn't say, and I should have, you call us same day you're going to get in. A lot of times the fee-for-service programs that I mentioned before, you call, your toe's infected, it might be 6 weeks before you can get in. Usually you can get in same day or next day.
Just a real-time example, sorry for interrupting. Yesterday, we had 14 calls of people who were not feeling well and wanted to see the doctor at just our Windsor location. I don't know about the other 2. 13 of them were able to see the doctor that day. Wow. The one who did not see the doctor had scheduled and then decided she was feeling better. I should say she or he, no personal information. But those are just, when we say we try to get them in, I mean, to get 14 people who weren't scheduled into an appointment is pretty good.
So I'm going to just move to one more question, then I'm going to go to your questions, because I think this is really important. Mark, we talked earlier about, as we age, how can we recognize the early signs of a serious health issue and take proactive steps to address it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that listening to your body is probably the biggest answer to that, and don't ignore things feel like you're off balance sometimes, or dizzy, or weird pains and things like that, we've got to pay attention to what our bodies are telling us. Our pain receptors are there for a reason. It's usually because some things, we need to pay attention. So I would say listening to our bodies.
And I would say this, just what we see statistically. So of the people in this room, about half of you guys are going to have burning when you eat. So you're going to have some kind of burning or gastric upset or burping or stomach churning or things like that when you eat. That's not normal, okay? You likely have an H. pylori infection, okay? And this is what we now know, these are what causes ulcers, they cause stomach cancer, they cause pancreatic cancer, they cause colon cancer, or comorbid with breast cancer.
So our bodies are trying to tell us.
Absolutely, yes.
To find out what is wrong. What is wrong. Okay, we're going to open up the floor. Thank you guys so much. Let's open up for your questions. Yes, ma'am.
Just a couple of quick things. I see it looks like you're recording. Can we access things if we miss one?
Yes, they will send you a YouTube link. If I'm using the terminology, I'm such a tech person. So a link, right, Emily?
Yes.
We will send this to you in a link.
We have to ask for that, or it just comes?
No, we send it, I think, with our follow-up.
If you've provided us with a cell phone or an email address, we can get that out to you.
You have to provide a cell phone or email to us.
Okay, and then my other thing, how do we access the Chip Talks?
Oh, okay, so you go to our True Medics, TRU.
The question was, how do we do CHIPS talks?
Yeah, TRUEMEDX.com. And they're right there. And I think Chip
Do you
Talks
have it on your
Health.
material too?
Yeah, we have it on our material. And I think Chip Talks or Chip Talks Health will redirect there. So we got some. Yeah, you can go ahead. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I have a couple of questions real quick. Chip, you mentioned intermittent fasting. I'm assuming that is a daily practice, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And then when I had open heart surgery 5 years ago, and then I went to rehab 6 months later because it was COVID, but the first thing they tested for me was my hand strength. And the last thing when I left was my hand strength. How important is that, and how do we work on it?
Yeah, again, Mark is probably.
Let me just reiterate, in case you did not hear the question. His first question was about intermittent fasting, and that needs to be a daily thing. It's not like you can change on the weekend.
Well,
when I go to the lake, we eat differently than when I'm at home. Right.
I'll tell you what my wife and I do. We're pretty extreme with intermittent fasting, but we eat in a 4-hour window. So what that means is about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, we'll start eating. We cram in 2,000 calories into that 4-hour window, but then we, quit at like about 8 o'clock at night. And that's not optimal. It's better to quit about 7. It turns out your body is working on certain organs during certain times. And so you start working on your liver after 7. You're working on your heart between 11 and 1. And guess what happens if you eat lunch? You don't work on your heart anymore. You work on your lunch, okay? So understanding these things is super duper important. But to your question about hand strength, again, what they're trying to, and I'll let Mark answer in more detail, but they're trying to measure basically your, let's say, heart to nerve, kind of connection. And the stronger you can grip, that's more of a connection because you can control those muscles better, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't really have any more detail right now. That's a pretty good answer. Our nervous system is throughout our entire body, and it has a lot to do with what's called proprioception, which is kind of where our body is in space and communicating that to our brain. But our nerves also have a lot of control with our muscle and muscle strength, so they're just testing that connection.
Other questions? Yes, ma'am. Yes, Paula.
The neuropathy, is this only in your legs and feet, or can it be?
Is neuropathy only in your feet and legs?
So peripheral neuropathy, the peripheral part of that is our peripheral nervous system, which we have a central nervous system, which is our brain and spinal column, and then we have our peripheral nervous system, which is everywhere else. So you can actually experience peripheral neuropathy anywhere in your body.
Such as your back or your hips?
Yes, ma'am.
I have another question.
Okay, yes, we'll go with her and then you, ma'am. Yes.
I don't know which one will answer this one, but, one of the things you were talking about, this heartburn and all that kind of thing, being an indication of their, something else wrong. I've also heard that if you don't have any problems, you've had colonoscopies and they never see any polyps, they never see anything in there, that after 70, you don't really need to have one. That's one of my GI doctors said.
Okay.
You really don't. You usually do somebody after 70 or 75 if they haven't had a problem. The other thing I've heard is that you're more susceptible to having your colon proliferate because it's weaker and thinner at that point. So, you guys have any thought on that?
Yeah, it's again, you can.
She said after 70,
Yeah.
you could repeat the question.
Yeah, no, and she's asking after 70, do things happen in the colon where the colon gets thinner and the walls of the colon get thinner?
So she's been told not to have a colonoscopy.
And you've been told, yeah, not to have a colonoscopy. So let's just talk, and again, this is from my perspective, I'm not a doctor, okay? So it just, take that in mind. I am a researcher, I'm top 5 in the world in my field, but I'm not a doctor. So what it is looking like is happening, again, is God is a perfect engineer. Your colon just doesn't go bad. And it doesn't matter how old you are. Over time, if you have other things going on, like a lot of chronic inflammation, again, all of your tissues will become thinner and things will begin to happen. Okay, but for most of us, what happens in that colon event is an infection. It's an infection that causes the polyps and an infection that causes basically the inflammation in the colon. So our philosophy always is it doesn't matter how old you are, to check you for that infection. And if you have an infection in the colon, then treat the infection. And usually that results in a refunctioning system, okay? So that's kind of the way that we treat things in our philosophy, but that isn't, let's say in the medical system, again, there's a cost benefit, let's say, associated with a test, and there's an age, criteria there associated with a test. So there's cost, but in our world, you're kind of paying for everything. So we're gonna make sure that we're thorough, if that makes sense.
And I will say this, in the last 2 years, there's been new colon tests where you don't have to do the full colonoscopy, so that may be an option as well, so talk to your doctor. And as Chip had mentioned, it could be something that's in your family, maybe you don't have it, but typically doctors will look at your family history and that's what they're going to determine how frequent you're going to have to do that as well.
And I was asked that question, did anybody in my family have colon cancer? And I said, no, because my parents did not have it.
Yeah.
And so they're wondering, well, you don't really need to have a colonoscopy.
And just real quick, because I think this is really important, because the narrative, let's say that we're all taught in kind of the medical system right now is genetics, okay? And again, you might have no history of colon cancer anywhere in your family. If you get infected with H. pylori and you let that run, and again, burning, gastric upset, so usually it's telling you that something's going on, that you can get colon cancer from that infection. And that's, that's chat. I mean, it's just, that's, well known, so,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question for Mark. How does smoking or alcohol, does that affect? And also my husband had a very stressful job. And so as he aged, he couldn't stand the pain. And so I'm thankful that there's help now for people. So can that affect?
Yeah, so the question is how maybe
Hereditary.
smoking and alcohol can be related to neuropathy and also a stressful occupation, sorry.
And his sister has the same problem. They have to always, when they sit, they put their feet up, kick their shoes off and move their feet. That's how they pull. So, okay.
So that's interesting, the foot movement, it comes back to the nerves not getting proper nourishment from our blood. So anything we can do to improve circulation can help minimize the effects of neuropathy. But yes, it depends on the amount of, when we're talking about alcohol and smoking and life choices like that, obviously those things just damage our bodies in pretty much every sense. Alcoholism, if you Google how you get peripheral neuropathy, alcoholism will be in the top 5. So it's extremely damaging to our nervous system in general. Stress, I would say, elevates everything. It can elevate inflammation and things of that nature, so that can also damage our nervous system.
I watched his feet turn blue slowly, and so as he aged, it got so bad, he couldn't stand it, and they didn't have this kind of help, I don't think. He passed 8 years ago.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Yes, sir.
Yes, this would be for Jeff. We've had St. Mercy Clinic here in Edmond for over 30 years. And they have the My Mercy online record keeping and communications and things like that. I'm just wondering if a person were to make a change from something like that to Archwell, then how would that
How do they get your
you'll
history?
have online
Sure.
record?
And we work, and the great thing I love about Archwell is we're not owned by a hospital. We're not owned by other entities, so we're able to work with everyone. We work daily with Mercy, Saints, Integris, etc. So we can access all of your records, and they'll send it to us electronically. And if you're seeing a Mercy doctor, like let's say you're seeing a cardiologist, our systems are able to communicate back and forth so we can gain and give access back to your doctors as well. So we try to do everything we can. We have a lot of the same types of system. It might be called something different, obviously. We have a portal, we have the 24-hour, like you had mentioned as well. So we give you access to our doctors and our clinicians 24/7.
Other questions?
Did you have a follow-up? I'm sorry.
Well, would Archwell be providing a new primary care physician? Is that how you're set up?
Yeah, so we're a and I apologize, sometimes I get so passionate on certain things, but primary care is what we are. So we're a primary care doctor's office. We work with other specialists. So when folks come to Archwell, they're actually coming to Archwell to see our doctor, who is then going to help with our whole staff navigate your whole medical needs. So if you're seeing a podiatrist, cardiologist, our coordinators in the clinic are going to arrange all of that for you. So yes, we are primary care.
Yeah, I want to be
Stephen, did you
respectful.
know?
I want to be respectful of their time, so
Okay.
let's ask them questions right now. The question, it was right over here. You had a question over right here.
Laura.
Sorry, Laura, what was your
I was
question?
gonna Google. Key nutrients I know are very, very important for all of us to receive. So Chip, you mentioned vitamin B that we didn't have that. So the best way to get vitamin B besides a supplement.
Eggs.
The best way to get vitamin B without a supplement, he
Yeah.
said eggs.
The best way to get vitamin D without a supplement is, again, you have to work at it, okay? Because you don't get them all from eggs. You get some of them from fish, get some of them from meat, get some of them from leafy greens, but most of them we get from eggs. But the best thing is just, even if it's sprouts or, cress or whatever, it's just a very good B supplement. And again, we sell them, we have it at True Genetics, so we offer them. But just make sure you have a good B supplement. And as to nutrients, again, I'm a researcher, that's what I do. And I study all different kinds of things. So I study cellular metabolics. Okay, and so I look at things from what a cell needs, all right? And a cell, most importantly, needs dietary fat, okay? And so, regardless of what they say out there, I'm just telling you, a cell needs dietary fat. There's 4 categories of fat. Past that, then a cell needs protein, because a cell needs amino acids, because it's trying to do work, like make collagen. And if it doesn't have amino acids, it won't do its work. So that's really important. And then past that, it's really vitamins. In A, D, E, and K are fat-soluble vitamins, so you'll store them. But B's and C's you don't, so you have to have those every day. Those are water-soluble, and you flush them out every day. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
One more question, yes.
Okay,
And then you can talk, you have 30 minutes or so to go visit with any of our guests here today, the sponsors.
I've heard a lot about intermittent fasting, and I do that to an extent. But are there people that are not advised to do it? Is it for everyone, or are there people that are not advised to do it?
Yeah, so absolutely, there are people who need to be careful, let's say, with intermittent fasting, and it kind of just depends on their physical health status. You know, some cancer patients, we need to put weight on, not take weight off, but that needs to be done carefully, because you literally have to switch when you eat, and you lose your ability, let's say, to fight cancer within your own body when you eat. So it's a plan is the best thing for someone who's, let's say, in these categories of needs to be careful with intermittent fasting. Okay?
So some do then, yes.
Yeah, the intermittent fasting will almost always help you, or the principles underneath intermittent fasting, the metabolic really principles. And so, in certain cases, someone definitely needs a plan. But, like if someone has pancreatic cancer, okay, they can't generate the enzymes that they need to digest food. So they need a completely different kind of food plan.
So it needs a teamwork to work through. The people that are helping you need to know your body.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
Okay, well, please fill out your evaluation forms for us. That's how we communicate if you need to speak with Emily. And I want to talk about our next month. On Tuesday, March 4th, we're going to have time for independent living, and we're going to ask our sponsors to be our panelists. So you're going to hear from Julie, Richard, Paula, and Jake representing our 4 communities. There are lots of different communities, but they are going to be here representing